Hi, this is Shauna with the Jeffco DeAngelis Foundation. I am here with Frank DeAngelis, former principal of Columbine High School, one of our subject matter experts with Jeffco DeAngelis Foundation. And we want to talk to you a little bit about his amazing book. They call me Mr. D. That's how you're known, Mr. D, Papa D here in Jeffco. And we all love you. But would you tell us about your book?
Sure. Right after Columbine happened, I was being approached by so many people to, go out and speak, write a book. And the last thing on my mind after the event is any of that type of stuff. Now, I did go out and help other communities. Cindy Stevenson, who was our superintendent for many years, was so gracious. And when other communities would call, I would reach out to go help those communities because I made a comment that we just joined a club in which no one wants to be a member. But the last thing on my mind was writing a book. And I did have someone approach me, actually, close friendship. We actually competed against each other in baseball when we were in high school. Terry Fry played for Wheat Ridge and I played for Ranham. And so I knew Terry since 1971. And so he approached me and he said, Frank, if you're ever interested, please let me know, because he had published a lot of books about the Broncos, Arkansas, and various places. And I said, Terry, right now, that's the last thing on my mind. I had to rebuild that community. And so I retired in 2014. And I said, Terry, let's go to lunch. And I said, do you remember asking me if I'd be interested in writing a book? And he said, yeah, sure. And I said, are you still interested? He said, for sure. And so he agreed to it, and we were able to find a publisher. And one of the things that I was hoping to talk about in that book, it's almost like a floor plan on what happens after recovery. And I think the important thing in the book talks about how those values were instilled in me, because when the event happened, I think I was 43 years old, but I think back to my parents and the role that they had in my life. I tell people all the time, the older you get, the smarter your parents become. And I think of my parents and the values that they instilled in me. I went to Mount Carmel Catholic School for 9 years, and the role that played in me. And so I wanted to make sure that people see the foundation. I did not become the leader I became after the shooting. There were certain things throughout my life that allowed me to get there. But the important thing too, I wanted to make sure in that book, no matter how difficult the situation is, there's hope. And there's that heart and resiliency. And people so many times said, Columbine needed me. I needed Columbine. And I just saw story after story that serves as motivation, and that was a purpose. And one of the most important chapters in the book is the last chapter, because at the Columbine Memorial, each of the families wrote loving tributes memorializing their students. And a lot of people may not get an opportunity to go to the memorial, but that chapter takes them there, and it just kind of enlightens the people that read the book about My Beloved 13.
It is a wonderful book. Thank you for talking to us about it. I have read it. It is fantastic. I know you also dispel some, misinformation rumors that were out there in that as well. But the message of hope, and it's so uplifting. And I know even in Jeffco and Columbine, the community here is very cohesive. So, and I know you have created that environment. So it's certainly a model, and we're just grateful that you are still doing this work and helping others who've become part of your club.
Well, and one of the things, there's a reason for it. And one of the things, I had such a great support system in place, my family, and Columbine family, my own personal family. But something that was important to me was my faith. And it's not for everyone, but I can remember after returning to my brother's house the night after the shooting, I couldn't go to my house because the FBI was concerned about the safety and welfare of my family. But I'm sitting there, and for the first time in my life, I was really questioning my faith in God. And I had been a member of St. Francis Cabrini for 20 years, for the 20 years I was at Columbine. And Father Ken Leone called me down there, and he said, Frank, come down. I said, Father, I don't have anything to give. He said, please come down. And I walk down there, or I drive down there, and there's about 1,200 people in sacristy. And all of a sudden, he asked any students from Columbine who were part of the youth group to come up there. And some of my dearest colleagues, Tom Tonelli, who was one of my students, graduated in 1988, he's there. And Father whispered in my ear, he said, Frank, you should have died that day, but God's got a plan. And he quoted Proverbs 16:9. He said, in his heart, a man plans his course, but the Lord determines his steps. And he said, you need to go rebuild that community. And not only that, help others. So every time I'm thinking I'm going to retire, those words echo in my ears. And I said, I'm going to continue to do this because I refuse to be helpless, hopeless, or give in. And unfortunately, I'm still helping these communities, and that's what I'm going to do. And it's not that I'm an expert, but I can share my experience. And the one thing that Columbine represents, and it was at the 1-year anniversary that I made this comment, it's a time to remember we'll never forget our beloved 13, but it's also a time for hope that we were able to overcome that. And right now, Columbine is as strong as it's ever been.
Love it. Well, again, the book is They Call Me Mr. D, and we'll include a link to this on our webpage so that everybody knows how they can get that. And I know you donate proceeds from this as well to various nonprofits. So we appreciate you so very much. You are our hero. Thank you.
For all you're doing. Thanks.